The cuttlefish, an exquisite creature out of the deep. Let's take a marvelous journey to see how this creature thrives in its environment. Cut to the video!
The cuttlefish prepares its main weapon. Two long tentacles tipped with suction cups that capture prey and deliver it to a beak sharp enough to make mincemeat of crab shell. The tentacles fire in a few hundredths of a second. Truly sudden death.
This is how a cuttlefish catches its food. I caught him.
Well, now let's see if I can do that.
As you can see, the cuttlefish takes its two long sticky tentacles and strikes its prey and pulls it to its mouth where it devours its meal. Now to Kyle for our next subject.
Cuttlefish uses its skin as a major advantage to hide itself from predators and sneak around in the water for prey.
They do this with skin that has up to 200 pigment cells per square millimeter. These yellow, red, black, and brown chromatophores are layered above reflective white and iridescent cells to create all types of patterns. Cuttlefish can also use muscles in their skin to change its texture, perfect for blending into the gravel below.
They have these fins on the outside, so they cover themselves with gravel. So you wouldn't be able to see it right now, but there's one little eye that I'm accustomed to being able to see.
Cuttlefish are related to the octopus and squid, and like both of its cousins, it's got a parrot-like beak and an ink sac in case it needs to make a quick exit by squirting black ink in a predator's face.
The cuttlefish is the master of camouflage. It can use its cilia to brush dirt and sand up onto its body to hide itself. It can also change its physical appearance and color to look like coral, but hiding is not the only function of its skin. It can also use its colors to hypnotize prey, so it can eat.
Just one day.
But when it's looking for a meal, it does something even more amazing. Controlled by the animal's nervous system, these moving bands of color captivate a wary crab.
Wow, that was really... You may be wondering, what's the scientific classification of the cuttlefish? Well, I'll tell you. It's in the domain Eukarya, the kingdom Animaliae, the phylum Mollusca, the class Cephalopoda, the order Sepida, and the family Sepidae, and the genus Sepia, and the species is Sepia officinalis.
You may be wondering who the ancestors and the relatives are of the cuttlefish. Well, the ancestors of the cuttlefish were hard-shelled organisms, such as nautiluses. And also, the relatives of the cuttlefish include the octopus and the squid, because they have tentacles and relatively large brains for their body. Now, they are also similar to gastropods and bivalves, snails or clams. And now to Kyle for the 7 functions of the cuttlefish.
The cuttlefish eats small mollusks, worms, crabs, octopuses, and even other cuttlefish by using its feeding tentacles and shooting them out and catching it after they hypnotize it with their colors. And then they use their beak to tear it apart. And then they swallow it and use their stomachs. And that's its feeding. Then its body plan is the cuttlefish has lost its internal shell and is a streamlined predator, has a relatively large brain, and performs complex behaviors. Major organs include the brain, the stomach, the hearts, the ink sac, internal shell, gills, a siphon, accessory heart, radula, and esophagus. For respiration, the cuttlefish uses gills to extract oxygen from the water and releases carbon dioxide back into the water. And for circulation, it has a closed circulatory system, which means it has veins and arteries. And 3 hearts for pumping the blood, and its blood is green because it has some sort of molecule thing. Then for excretion, it disposes of waste through the anus as well as ink to escape from predators. For movement, it pushes a jet of water through the siphon to push itself through the water. And the cilia, which is a big fin that circles around the body, is used for more movement through the water. And for response, it can change its skin color to blend itself into its environment, which is camouflage, and can also squirt ink at predators to distract or confuse them. For reproduction, the male cuttlefish injects sperm into the females, and the females produce eggs that are stuck to the sides of a rock. Males fight over females because males outnumber females 4 to 1. Now let's talk about the mating rituals in the groups that cuttlefish live in. They live in groups controlled by the large dominant male, and when they reproduce once in their lifetime, they reproduce by injecting sperm into the female, who lays her eggs on the side of a rock, and then they all die. Now let's go to Gray to talk about how they interact with other organisms.
Like I was saying, I'll be talking about where the cuttlefish lives and how it interacts with others. It usually lives near the coast in tropical waters and migrates to the deeper water in the winter. They are tertiary consumers because they feed on small octopuses and crabs. And they also can attract a mate by changing their skin color, or they can intimidate another cuttlefish by doing another skin color. Everything you need to know about this creature of the sea, the cuttlefish. Now stay tuned next week for next week's special, the stupid turtles. 3, 2, 1.
No, it's weird.